Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus on this Thursday. This kind of cloudy, foggy Thursday. I'm 9 News Meteorologist Chris Bianchi. I'm going to get into the details of, yes, some of the fog that we're seeing today, but more importantly, I want to focus in on what we're going to expect for tomorrow, for Friday and Friday night and into your Saturday, because it does look like we're going to be looking at a pretty impactful winter weather event for the Front Range and also into the mountains, probably looking at our first winter storm warnings of the season into the high country. In the meantime, we do have some fog. This has been very pesky. I'm going to be the first to admit it. The forecast for today that I had, this fog has been very, very persistent, and the forecast straight up, it's going to be wrong, that we had from this morning because of this fog that has been a bit more persistent than expected thanks to a Denver cyclone, an easterly wind out of the east-southeast, westerly winds aloft. That sets up this kind of cloudy, foggy scenario for us here along the Front Range. We're drawing in moisture right at the surface from the Gulf of Mexico, and that's why it's been so cloudy. But you head up and into Rocky Mountain National Park. You don't have to head up all that high. You get up to 89,000 feet. This is a very shallow fog layer, and look at that sunshine popping up there at Rocky Mountain National Park. But tonight, cold front arrives. This is the first of at least two, if not three, separate cold fronts that will swing their way through the Front Range, and this means snow for the weekend and a very, very bitterly cold air mass into next week. And this is, again, I've been emphasizing a lot of different things. I would say at this point, I think the cold will continue to be the big story, because we're probably going to drop down to the low teens, maybe even down to 10 degrees here in Denver for Monday morning and maybe Tuesday morning as well, which is very unusually cold for this time of year. And we'll get into some more of those impacts in the next few minutes. That said, for tonight, cold front moves through between about 6 and 10 p.m. this evening. This is the first of, again, 2 or 3 cold fronts, and this is the one that's going to drop us below freezing for tonight. Sunset 6:04 p.m., and that will also lead to some increasing clouds. All right, as we look ahead to tomorrow, it will be a bit on the breezy side. Temperatures topping out in the low 50s, so much cooler tomorrow, and we'll be looking at those at least sunnier skies, but it's a bit of a deceptive sunshine, also a bit of a breeze for tomorrow as well with those partly cloudy skies. So cooler, breezy, low 50s for your Thursday. Again, this is behind the initial front. I think for Friday, we're in between storm systems, so we're mostly going to be sunny. It's just, again, on the colder side. But the real deal stuff arrives as we get into Friday night. That's when we get a secondary cold front, and we tap into moisture out of the north and the west, and I should say out of the south and the west, and that's going to lead to some snow starting into the high country Friday night and into Saturday morning. So here's what to expect as we head through the weekend. Heavy mountain snowfall starting Friday night and lasting through Saturday, tapers down early Sunday. So if you have to go into the high country, get it done earlier in the day on Friday, and don't plan on heading back until about, I don't know, late morning on Sunday, and maybe around noon or so. That's when the snow will taper on down. It looks pretty rough in the mountains basically all day Saturday and also Friday night into Saturday morning as well. In the Denver area, it looks like lights at asterisk here. The computer models continue to tick on up in terms of their expected snowfall amounts for the Front Range, for the metro area, and that is something to kind of closely watch for, because again, the trend right now is for maybe higher and higher snowfall amounts in the Denver metro area. What we are a bit more confident about is that it looks like for the West Elks, for the Sawatch Mountains, as well as into some of the central mountains here into the high country, we could be looking at a pretty decent foot-plus snowstorm in a lot of areas, especially above 10,000 feet in elevation. Into the Front Range, this is where the bigger questions are, but here's an idea about what we could be looking at. Now, I think these totals into the foothills are a bit high, but 2 to 5 inches for most, maybe even a few ones in there in a few areas, maybe up by Greeley, Weld County, where you might get shut out a little bit from the snow. North side of the metro area, wouldn't be surprised if we see some 1s or 2s, but I want to emphasize this. The jet stream will be in play, which means as we get into Saturday night and to Sunday morning, there will likely be 1 or 2 very narrow bands of some heavy snowfall that's set on up for Saturday night and to early Sunday. So just to repeat, after dark on Saturday, it looks like we're going to have some pretty significant road issues for Saturday night into Sunday morning for the Front Range. That includes Denver. So if you have plans Saturday night, It's Halloween weekend. You probably have some plans coming up on Saturday night. I would plan on the potential for some maybe heavy snow for Saturday night in a few spots here across the metro area. And where we do get those narrow bands of heavy snow to set on up, I would not be surprised to see some 6, 7, 8-inch snowfall totals here in the metro area. So again, I think most of the messaging over the last few days has been that this looks to be maybe a lower impact snow. I'm going to say that for a lot of you, it may end up being a lower impact snow. If it lightly snows throughout the day on Saturday, it probably won't stick to the roads all that much on Saturday. It's Saturday night where we see some narrow bands of heavy snow set on up that we could be talking about some higher snowfall totals. So with that said, here's a look at that 7-day forecast. For Saturday and into Sunday, again, that snow will be heaviest, it looks like Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, after about 3 p.m. and before about, say, midnight. I think that would be the main time window for that heaviest snowfall. The snow should wind down early in the day on Sunday. So if you're heading to the Broncos game, maybe a little bit of good news, as it looks like the snow should be mostly done by the time we get to kickoff, even for those pregame tailgates. It's just going to be really cold, but the snow should be pretty much done. By Monday morning, it is bitterly cold with a low temperature of just 14 degrees, and it warms on up a little bit for your Halloween. And then by Wednesday and Thursday, back up to about seasonal levels in the mid-50s to low 60s. Saturday night into Sunday, I think we might need to whip out those snow shovels for the first time this season here along the Front Range, with the possibility for, again, 3-4 inches of snow, in a few cases a bit more than that worth of accumulation. Broncos forecast, I just kind of adjusted this a little bit. It looks like we may have some flakes around kickoff, maybe before the game, but any snow that we got should gradually dissipate. We probably get a fair bit of sunshine during the game on Sunday, so maybe some good news to pass along is that it looks a bit better in terms of lesser snowfall amounts during the game. But it looks really cold for the Bronco game on Sunday. That's no doubt about it, the big story. And then for Halloween, temperatures in the 20s and 30s, mostly in the 20s, so it's going to be a very cold Halloween for us. But it does stay dry, and watch out for some of that black ice, especially when we get some of those higher snowfall amounts, 4, 5, 6 inches of snowfall. A lot of that will not melt on off, and that means we'll be dealing with black ice for the kiddos walking around on your Halloween. So, top line takeaways. Mountains, heaviest snowfall Friday night, Saturday. Also, another thing to keep in mind here, folks, is that trees that have leaves on them and where we do get 6 inches or more of snow, it's going to be that heavy, wet snow. We could be looking at down trees and maybe some down power lines. So shake those trees, because we will be looking at that potential here, folks, for some of those down trees, down power lines, things like that. So that's one thing. For us here in the metro area, most of us probably end up 2-3 inches of snow, probably. There will be probably some higher end amounts, some 5, 6, 7 inch totals in some parts of the metro area with some narrow banding. That would be mainly Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Then by Sunday, it looks like we may have some leftover snow in the morning. That should clear out pretty quickly. And it's just really cold for Sunday, and it lasts into Monday with temperatures dropping down to low teens for both Sunday morning, or I should say for both Monday morning and Tuesday morning. And then we warm back up for the middle of next week. So lots to get into. We'll keep you posted with the very latest right here on 90s Plus. Thanks again for joining us here on 90s Plus. Have a great rest of your Thursday.